Thank you. Hello, Simile here. Today we're doing another replay, a game of Mechabellum. We are a aerial specialist. Our opponent is a missile specialist. As you know, I love my aggro plays, so that's what we're going to be doing again today. We're going to be doing what is the what I like to call the telegraphed gospel. So we're starting immediately with a deploy slot down, going for the air cheese on the first round to win it. So everything on our ground probably dies here. Our wasps shall survive and level. One thing I did not look at before I actually started playing this match was my opponent specialist. So with a missile specialist, this is going to be a very slow start into what could potentially be a gospel for me. I was deciding whether or not I wanted to, after I realized on round 2 what he was, what the best plan of action was. Was it to continue with gospel? Was it to go ball wraith? He already had sledges. Ball wraith seems kind of bad into sledges. Lots of decent cards actually offered here. I decided to skip though, as it was only round 2, and I'm probably not going to be placing any of those units quite yet. I could have gone for the boat as being an aerial specialist there. It might be good, but it's very early to go into it. But then again, I would be losing out on a display slot again. So we're just straight going into the gospel round 2. We're just throwing it on the flank here. We know this is going to get missiled out. Place one on this side. We're just trying to win as much air as possible. Opponent did the nice thing here is building a lot of fangs here. It's a very good strategy here. It just slows down any aggression from myself, as I am really relying on my wasps for the chaff clear at this point in the game. So it really is not the way to play this strategy, the gospel or ball wraith. Like, you really want to be getting into chaff clear round 2 in the form of a wraith typically, which would be the ball wraith that I have in the front line there. But I want to put as many levels onto the wasp and as much XP as possible, so I think I'm okay with sacking a few rounds here to see if I can get the gospel up and running, even with the very early stuffing, if you will, from the opponent here. But I like bashing my head against a rock, so we're going to continue on. I think Mustang is the only pick here of the units. I needed a little bit of chaff clear. He has a lot of fangs. Put a shield down. I know I'm going to probably get missiled in one of these spots. I can't predict where. I skipped the level last round on the wasp, knowing it was going to get missiled. I think this turn I can maybe get away with leveling it, but apparently not. He's just going to keep missiling the same wasp, which is fine by me. I'm going to have 2 rounds in a row where I'm going to be losing out on a big portion of my damage because of these missiles, up until I eventually, if I do click Energy Shield, which would be the only real deterrent that I have for missiles at this moment. And round 3 seems very greedy to be clicking the shield. It kind of just, I mean, I've already placed 3 wasps on the board, so I've kind of already shown my hand. So my opponent should be thinking about how to deal with the rhinos on the flank if they do come, whether it's just Scorpion, Sabertooth, Steel Ball, Fortress, etc. There's lots of options for my opponent. They take round 3. So 2 rounds unanswered so far. I was debating whether or not I wanted EMP there, but I figured long-term laser sights is probably better. Eventually, I figured at this point, if I'm going to commit into the wasps, I'm going to click Energy Shield just for the missiles, give me some more HP, and we'll go on from there. And the missiles won't be that big of a problem. So instead, right now, we're going heavy into the Rhino, level 2. with an extra crawler. Our opponent is filling out this right side a little bit just for these wasps, really, and has leveled their crawlers and arc lights at this point in the game. I get the idea a little bit, but the arc lights are going to be suffering to the rhinos later on, so if you're expecting the rhinos to be coming out, it's kind of a bad play in that sense. Opponent still has no real single target damage. I guess you could consider the single target damage is the Farseers on the board. So my opponent is lacking some actual DPS on their board at this moment. So I think I can actually commit to the Gossable. But when I really commit is when I start teching my wasps. So we are just barely punching through. The steel balls are going to get to the tower. Actually, they don't even run to the tower on the left there, which is kind of unfortunate for me. But we kill everything in front of the tower, so we should be getting that tower. And somehow this rhino with almost no HP survives somehow. Very fortunate for myself for that. Because I don't think this rhino is going to die. I think it's going to get protected from the anti-armor cannon. And we're going to get this tower before it gets to shoot. And we actually might, if we're lucky... Oh, no, never mind. It just went down to the armor cannon. I thought everything else would have been just in the right spot to block, but apparently not. So a little bit of fortune for my opponent to actually finally take down that rhino and not take the extra damage from it at the end of the round. Improved firepower is offered, and teleport. Those are probably the only two cards that are worthwhile. I decided to put the improved on my Mustangs there. Just help chew through those sledges a little bit quicker for my steel balls. We end up selling out of the steel ball here. We're going to be placing a level 2 rhino, and we're picking up an extra wraith at this moment. Our opponent is going with the steel ball defense, which is what I would consider probably the best defense there is. But the big problem is he doesn't really have anything to shoot our wasp. I guess he has the missiles this turn, which will be sufficient. He's put it in the back rather than in the front on the itemized gold damage dealer on our board, which is a little bit of a surprise. It probably should be missiling this guy out every round that he has an opportunity to, because it has an item. And with the steel balls there, you should, I would assume, be able to take out this rhino. You probably take out everything else as well, slowly but surely. But my opponent has a very weakness in the frontier. This kind of part of my board is uncontested, while this part is contested by these units here. Yes, these 3 sledges are going to the left a little bit, but I mean, really, we're dealing with this much of an army until these guys die out or turn around after killing my units on the flank there. So again, the steel balls do wonders here, especially with the missile. The wasps get cleared out in the back. My opponent is using his spells very well. I would probably have preferred him to kill in the frontier, but like if I was defending, as a personal preference, you know, don't let the wasps get levels that have levels. So we end up losing round 5 here, taking a lot of damage. Our opponent is stuffing us with those missiles here, so it really is hard to get into against a missile specialist, the Gospel. We take the Tarantulas here. We figure we can maybe pull and get some cheeky tower damage here on the right flank here, as it's not leveled. So we are placing the Tarantulas on the flanks. We have yet to level or skill any techs on our wasps. I probably should have already done so, but I've been kind of loosey-goosey with my strategy here, slow rolling it. I've committed to the rhinos at this point, which means I should probably just commit to the wasp, but I don't really have the money unless I sell a unit. But I don't believe I'm going to this turn. I actually end up selling one of the Tarantulas instead, and I mass recruit an extra, what? Mustang probably over here to kill these fangs, and also to help keep the pull on them after they walk this way. They walk down this way rather than turn all the way around. Though it won't be that big of a deal, I don't think. Our opponent is going for the Wraith, finally. The big problem... the only problem with Wraith defense against the Gospel is positioning. This positioning is terrible for your Wraith. You want to be placing your Wraith 4 to 5 units away from the line so it doesn't immediately get targeted by AA Wasps when they come out. And that is exactly what is going to happen when I eventually click AA Wasps. Though this next round should be a little bit better. I do have the Wraith. Opponent does have the missile. They're going to put it back here rather than in the front rather than in the back like they did last turn. This is something I should be expecting my opponent to do. This is where they should be doing it. And with the Degen Aura, I think that's a great tech for the defense here. Though I would prefer range first, and then 8-gun, and then Degen as a defensive player in this scenario, because the goal of the Wraith is to kill the Wasps, and the goal of the Steel Ball is to kill the Rhinos, and then you place crawlers on the front line, and it should be a wash with the crawlers, is the general idea, and you should be advantaged because you're Wraith into Wasp. But unfortunately for my opponent, they place their Wraith way too close to the line here, so I think I'm given the green light to really go heavy into the Wasp here. Intensive training is offered, shield drop is offered, and fire, and the shield bubble for the Giants is offered as well. I think the fire and the intensive are good. I don't see any problems with either of them here. And now we are committing to the AA on the Wasp, as there's no missiles this round, so it should be a free win with the AA. Actually, these crawlers level 3 will be a little bit of a problem as the game goes on, as they'll feed my Wasp, but they'll also prevent my Wasp from potentially hitting the Wraith. And now my opponent has committed to a lot of defense on this side of the board, which gives me an opportunity to just put more weight on this side. To push through and get that tower debuff. The level 3 Scorpion pickup here is nice for my opponent. Should keep it on the board at this point. It does, I think, 2-shot or 75,000 damage, 35. Basically 2 shots to the Rhino, not quite. But, you know, with the extra damage coming in from the rest of the board, it 2 shots it. The AA Wasp shredding the Wraiths that my opponent has. We've taken degen ourselves to mitigate their degen, so we're kind of fighting an even playing field in the sense of degen. And then the next priority for me is going to probably be getting shield on the Wasp, as next turn my opponent has the opportunity to start missiling again, as they are missile specialist. And we end up winning this round here. And this is where the build starts to really come online once you've clicked a couple techs here. I think the Phoenix is probably the best option. Typhoon's okay. Void Eye is probably just as good as the Phoenix for our opponent. Phoenix is probably just better because it's cheaper. Depends on what you need for deploy slots. The Void Eye are really good at slowing down Rhinos, especially level 5 Void Eyes into level 2 Rhinos. It's a very easy kill for those units. We have sold out of our Mustangs and put the item on our Wasps in the back. We have taken our energy shield this round as well. As it is round 8, we are lone speed range. And we are in double defensive as well, and we pick up an extra crawler, probably place it here. We just need a little bit of extra crawlers for this Scorpion because these Wraiths aren't going to be able to cut it as I have AA on my Wasps. Opponent has taken Drill on the Crawlers. I think that's another slight mistake. It's a waste of a tech in my opinion. And again, our opponent is placing the Wraiths right on the line where they are going to immediately get targeted by my Wasps. Oil goes down for our opponent. Now, not all the Wasps end up targeting the Wraiths, which is slightly unfortunate for myself, but we do take them down. And with the missile not killing these Wasps with the shield here, it allows them to help punch through the front line while my opponent has won the flank, let's say. And with the overcommitment on the right flank here, we are winning the round as we just have more supply on this left side of the board, able to push through. The big Phoenix doing in some good work, helping take out the Farseer relatively quickly. We really need range on our Wasps. EM was offered. I decided to skip and get the Amp Core. I thought I could probably disable the Wraiths here. Then I thought for a couple seconds and thought, well, I'm just going to kill them before they really have any opportunity to do anything. Once I get range on my Wasps was my thought process here. And we'll see how well they do against these level 2 and level 1 Wraiths on the flank. Our opponent has picked up more steel balls. Oh, no, did they decide not to go with them this turn? Ended up selling the Phoenixes here. Oh, no. We'll see what they decide. Going for burst on the Farseer. I think that's also a mistake. We should be looking at just more Wraith and Steel Ball and Crawler on the line. The problem with the Wraith is, again, they're too far forward. Once these units are dead, there's nothing protecting these Wraiths. Not even these Steel Balls. They don't even protect. Once the Crawlers are dead, there's nothing left. With the oil, we decided to run around it and go straight for the tower. I think there's nothing unusual about this play here. And more Wraith coming out for our opponent. Just Wraith, Wraith, Wraith. My Wraiths are doing a beautiful job tanking for my Wasps on both sides of the flank. We absolutely eviscerated the Wraiths on the left flank. The slower fire rate of the Farseer is now proving to show why it is not a great tech in this type of scenario. As there's an over-reliance on the Wraiths that my opponent has that just don't get the job done. Should be a skip for both players here. Extended range War Factory is interesting here. There's an argument to be made that there's really not a lot on either side of our boards down low. Either player could go for the factory flank and push our towers and pose problems. Neither of us decided to go for that this game. At least I don't think he goes for it. We end up bolstering our line with more rhinos here. as, again, the only real damage to rhinos on this board are the steel balls and the farseers. And there's only one farseer and one steel ball on this side. It's not going to be enough to deal with all of these units here. Opponent does take 8 gun, which is finally we're at the Wraith in the position you want the Wraith to be in the defensive position. But the problem is again, these Wraiths are too close to the line. They get, like, they're at, just for a comparison, 67 kills, 29 kills, 180 on this Wraith. So these Wraiths dealing 8,000 and 3,000 damage on the level 2 is just not cutting it. So this positioning is the problem here. If this Wraith was back in line with this Wraith, it'd be perfect. Same with this one, if it was back here, it'd be perfect. But they're not. And that is why this defense is failing, and I'm committing hard to the gospel. Because I know what beats it. Opponent picks up 2 more steel balls and clicks absorb on them. I don't think you really need the absorb module on it. You should be just planning to place your steel balls in front of where the other rhinos are going to be spawning in. Again, my wasps completely untouched. My tanky units are doing their job of getting in front and tanking for my wasps. And again, the rhino goes down, but by the time the rhino goes down, the only thing left is the farseer. And this is just going to become even harder to defend if I eventually click ground specialization. Take our opponent down to sub 500. Both of us take the Ion Blast pretty much immediately here. I think it is probably by far the best choice here. The steel balls were my problem, so I'm planning on just chunking them down as quickly as possible. Even if there's a shield there, we'll pop that shield very quickly, as we've shown our wasps in the flank don't get targeted at all, so we're totally fine. And we are going to juke the Ion Blast as much as we can. I don't know if this Ion Beam is the best placement. I don't know if it should be further closer to my line where it starts, or further back. I haven't really looked at it. I think it's a little too far forward, especially when you're double ioning. I think you should be ion beaming this side of the board, killing these wasps here. You know, gold damage dealer last round, number 2 in damage overall. This is the guy you want to get rid of, along with probably this guy. 71,000 damage, 81, 50, 80. And this guy's not doing too much into this Wraith, I believe. He is getting shmacked by him. We end up placing a couple extra wasps here, assuming we're going to get hit here in some manner of fashion, but I was expecting the Ion Beam here and us to lose the game probably, because that's probably actually what happens if that happens in this game. So we'll try after this round to see if the Ion Beam over here does more than this missile for our opponent. And this time without the spawn in time on those extra rhinos, they just get in and chew through, and with ground spec level 8 wasps are going to chew through. We get a little bit of self damage on the Ion Beam, but it's not much, and it's probably ideal. And we end up taking the win on this round here.